literally, as I was leaving the property, this group came across. All Colombia, todo? Colombia? ¿Dónde vas en Estados Unidos? California. Miami. Chicago. Minnesota. Miami. New York. Boston. Connecticut. Miami. Utah. California. Wow. It's not stopping, guys. It's not stopping. They're lying to you. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the Democrats are lying to you. They just don't want you to see it. That's all. They did this. They did this. They don't want to fix the problem in these communist countries because they want America invaded. These people are traitors to our country. I don't fault the people that are coming. You saw all those babies? I pray for those babies. I fault the people that are inviting them, like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Well, welcome back to Special Report. You just watched our very own Ben Bergquam at the southern border. He was there with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance has been on the campaign trail with President Trump for less than 2 weeks, guys, and is already at the southern border today, definitely beating Kamala Harris's record. But speaking of, Kamala was quick to get bashed during this press conference and her disastrous border record. Now, Ben Bergquam was there all day with the presidential hopeful, and as the Biden administration keeps telling you that they have it under control, you just saw in that video that Ben was quick to set the record straight and expose the truth in that situation. Let's get right out to him now. Ben, thanks so much for being with us today. Ben, that footage is just from yesterday. It doesn't seem to me like they're fixing anything, despite what the Biden regime wants to tell you.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is they're spending money now to make it look like they're doing that. They're actually paying the Mexican government to put up the Mexican military at certain points along the border. But what was crazy about that group of people, they're on private property where the cameras can't get to and average citizens can't get to see it. They're coming through just like that. I went down and interviewed this folks that live at this gun range down there. It's a sportsman's club, and they said it's been like that for years now. And what it looks like is the Biden regime is actually funneling these people through places like that, so it's harder for the American people to see it. But yeah, it's as soon as you walk across the border, they're letting you in. Everything you're hearing from Joe Biden and from Kamala Harris is a lie, other than the fact that they've allowed this invasion for the last 3.5 years. It's just unbelievable what's happening right now. And then to have JD, as you mentioned, come down today, go to a place, very dangerous place out in Naco, Arizona, and stand up there and expose what the fraudulent fake news media hasn't been willing to say for the last 3.5 years before Kamala Harris has even gone down there. It is really shocking.
It is. And a large component that Democrats are quick to conceal is just how this porous border affects American families, Ben. I mean, I want to just play for our audience. Take a listen to what J.D. Vance had to say about that.
That his mom took something that she shouldn't have taken, but praying to God, please, Jesus, let her wake up. And the unfortunate truth is because of the poison that Kamala Harris has let come into this country, there are a lot of those prayers that won't be answered. There are a lot of parents that won't wake up because when you take fentanyl, you don't wake up. It takes your life. So there are a lot of kids out there who have been deprived of second chances with their moms and dads. There are a lot of moms and dads out there who will never see their kids walk down the aisle because of what Kamala Harris has unleashed at this border. The human toll of this is the thing that we cannot forget. We have got kids who can't learn in schools because their kids have been overwhelmed with migrant children who shouldn't be there. We've got hospitals where the wait times have exploded because illegal aliens are standing in front of the line of American citizens.
And he's telling the absolute truth, Ben. I mean, fentanyl, he was talking about children, but let's be honest, that's the #1 killer for people between the ages of 18 to 49. So yes, Harris and Biden have blood on their hands. And we were the only network that actually covered the lost voices of fentanyl right out in D.C. They completely ignored it. But I don't think you can ignore it much longer, Ben.
Yeah, what was the most powerful about that story is right at the front end. I think it got cut off before on the replay. That was his own personal testimony of times that he had found his mom and had prayed to the Lord, had found his mom overdosing and prayed to the Lord that she would wake up. And so this is a guy that understands it firsthand. And now to see this, it's just, again, it's just the unnecessary death, the unnecessary misery. And you talk about all of those, it's one thing to have somebody die, but all of the other impacts that we rarely talk about, the education system being destroyed, the healthcare system being destroyed. I know in Fresno, in the Central Valley where I grew up, there were 3 hospitals that shut down. They went bankrupt because they couldn't fund the liabilities of illegal aliens anymore who used it as a primary care facility, the emergency room as a primary care facility. So there are so many causes and effects and impacts from this. And again, it is 100% preventable if we just secure the border.
100% preventable.
And it's choices made by...
is something that J.D. Vance knows firsthand, hits home with everything that happened with his mother. If you've read his book, if you've seen his movie, you know that drug abuse is something that he had to deal with firsthand. But Ben, President Biden attempting here to curtail the crossings in an effort to save face through his executive order. Many are now calling this a mass amnesty order with less than 100 days until the election. How real is the threat of illegals voting in our elections?
Well, we know they already do in states like California, in Democrat cities where they have any state that has motor voter laws where you're an illegal alien that can get a driver's license. But beyond that, any state that has the massive vote by mail, a lot of times this is being sent out to people, to empty households, and it can be filled out by anybody. So the voter fraud is probably the biggest concern outside of the impacts of our southern border that people should be concerned about, should be paying attention to. But it is this is what happens when you no longer have the rule of law, no longer have a southern border, and you've allowed all these people in. You're going to have all of these unintended consequences, and one of those is potentially the impact on our elections. But there's no doubt about it. What they want is mass amnesty, and they're getting it through the judicial process as well. They're having judges, these immigration judges, basically dismiss these cases to make it look like it's not that big of a deal. And what that does is set these people on the track for citizenship potentially. They can apply for a green card as soon as that case is dismissed. And within a couple years, they can be getting a green card. And within a couple years from that, they can be registered to vote. So this is a trajectory that our country's on. If we don't change course very soon, it's going to be hard to turn it back.
Ben, just curious, in the about minute we have remaining, what was your biggest takeaway from this border tour with J.D. Vance?
I really think what I said earlier, the fact that he went out there before he's even vice president to a place that Kamala Harris still has yet to go, and to a place that is a very dangerous place where the cartels actually, while we were there, I got word from Border Patrol that there were 2 cartel scout drones in the air that were counter-surveilling our surveillance. There was a group that was coming up on the wall, and having just had President Trump shot 2 weeks ago, for J.D. Vance to go out to a place where it is, again, the potential for harm is very high, and for him to stand there and say, I'm not afraid, I'm going to stand up for this country, it was... it just shows the difference between who's in office now and President Trump and J.D. Vance.
Ben, we only have about 30 seconds left, but I do want to ask you, spend so much time on the southern border as well as the northern border. Right now, what are some of the things you're noticing during this trip?
Well, it's this collusion. One of the things people need to understand is there is direct coordination between the NGOs in America and the cartels. The big concern I have is that there may be there is direct coordination between our U.S. government and potentially people in the Border Patrol. Wait till you see some of the footage I got. The coincidences are too high. So we need investigations into politicians and into every level of government to expose the frauds and the people that have sold this country out.